Hi guys, I'm here with the second layout for today. It's Boxing Day, which is December 26th here in Canada, and I am scrapbooking these two photos that my friend Melissa sent me. I just got them in the mail on Christmas Eve, and I was really excited to get some photos of her family there. They were probably our closest friends, and they moved away before either of us had kids, and so we've been keeping in touch, mostly long distance. So I always love getting photos from them, and I'm going to scrapbook these two 4x6 photos. Actually, I think they might be 3x5. I'll measure them and I'll get back to you about that. But I am going to talk a little bit about how I work with two 4x6 photos in terms of putting them together. To arranging two 4x6 photos, there are a couple of things that I consider when I'm deciding which one goes on top and which one goes on bottom. The first is I think about the weight of the photos, and this photo has more black. They both have quite a lot of black in them, but this photo has more black, or more large spaces of black, than this one, and so this one would be heavier for that reason, and so I like it to be down here. The other thing is that even if they were more balanced in terms of weight, one thing that I try to stay away from is having legs and heads beside each other. So, whoops, there's Lila. That's the first time Lila's ever done that to you guys. Oh, that's kind of a nice moment. Anyhow, so I like to avoid, oh, now she wants to come on my shoulder. Just a second, see if I can get her up there while I talk to you guys. So I like to avoid having legs and heads beside each other, and if I stacked these photos this way, the legs and heads would be beside each other. Whereas this one, because it's kind of like just there aren't any legs in this photo, so that kind of looks better. The other thing that I like to avoid, and it's more relevant for summer pictures than for winter pictures, is I don't like ground to be above sky. So if there was a huge amount of blue sky here, and then this was another ground and more blue sky, I don't like that kind of, and these are not rules that you need to stick by, it's just that's the way that I like to kind of combine my photos. So if I had two photos that had both ground and sky, I would put them side by side. But normally what I have is I have more of a close-up, and then I have more of a far away shot, and the far away shot is usually the one that has more sky in it. So in that case, if there was blue sky here, I would probably put that right here and the close-up right here. But because it's dark and not sky, I'm going to put it this way, and that kind of follows my two other principles, the one of weight and the one of not having legs in it. So I did measure those photos, and they are 4x6. I'm not sure why they just look a little different sized. I'm not sure why, but they're 4x6. So I am matting them on a piece of white cardstock. And the reason I'm doing that is it makes it easier for me to handle them. And they're kind of, I know that they're straight right off, and I don't have to worry about making sure that they're straight later on when I attach them to the layout. But also the little space in between the two of them, like that horizontal line between them, it doesn't contain any distracting elements. So if I just put these on this green paper, you would see little distracting pieces of green poking through between the two photos, and green and white like a pattern, and I personally just prefer to avoid that. So I'm just gathering up some of the scraps from cutting up paper from the last layout that I did, which was the Merry Christmas layout, probably the one right before this in my channel, and also some scraps from this layout. And I'm trying to decide on a secondary piece of pattern paper. I want there to be two large rectangular squarish pieces of pattern paper that will be offset on a diagonal, and that'll make kind of the base of this layout. And it's not a design I use very often, so I'm just working through what my second pattern paper will be, and I'm really liking this candy cane stripe type of pattern here, which is from Fancy Pants, from the what is it called, the Oh Dear collection. And then that green and white pattern paper is from the Merry and Bright collection from Pink Paisley. So is this stripe that that quatrefoil green strip that you saw just a second, that's from Fancy Pants from the Oh Dear collection. And most of these papers are from the Merry and Bright. So this floral here is from the Merry and Bright collection, also from Pink Paisley. So I've got a number of strips that I'm going to run just over to the right-hand side of my photos. And basically at this point, I wasn't actually planning on using the gray paper. I'm basically just using it as a placeholder to keep my 12 by 12 size in mind. But before I'm finished using it as a placeholder, I'm actually going to decide that I like it, and I'm going to keep it as my background. So I decided that candy cane stripe was just way too distracting and competing. Like I don't know, I didn't like it. It was too loud. So this more subtle red pattern paper is quite a bit more tame, and I just like how it looks combined with that green pattern with the green and white triangles. Well, the green triangles on a white background. So now I'm cutting my strips at various lengths so that they will be staggered. I want them to be staggered on the top and staggered on the bottom. And I want them to kind of overlap one another and kind of just provide a little bit of interest over to the right-hand side of my two photos. And they're going to become a home for a little cluster that's going to start with these green burlap flowers from Maya Road that came in the kit. So I'm using the Most Wonderful Time of the Year kit from Scraptastic for this layout. And I'm just pulling out some of the embellishments that came with the kit. Those snowflakes came in the Merry and Bright collection of ephemera that came in the kit. And I thought it makes a nice little background piece for behind the flowers. I just had to kind of poke out the middle of it. And they're flat on one side and sparkly on the other side. And at first I was going to use the flat side of them, but then I decided it's Christmas, so you got to use the sparkly side, right? So I like how that kind of cluster is looking. I was going to use one of those flowers, but they're just such a nice hexagon shape that they fit so nicely together in a 3 that I just decided to put all 3 of them on this layout. There's no point in saving them. Got to use them at some point, so you might as well use them on this layout. So this I'm going to center so that there's equal distance of gray showing on the bottom 3 edges, and then a larger amount of gray at the top. And now I'm going to do my outlining, and it's always a little risky. I like to do my outlining before I glue it down so that if I go off the edge, I don't mark the paper. I do go off the edge at one point here, but it's not so bad because it's going to be right here. Right there. I don't think you even saw it. But it's not so bad happening there because I'm going to have some embellishments there. So now I'm just going to do the same, outline this green pattern paper, this green and white. And I flipped it around so that my arm is not on the photos just because I found it was hard for me to get a nice smooth line when I was being careful not to scratch the photos. I don't have a digital copy of these, so I'm more careful than I normally am with photos because normally if I make a mistake or drop a bit of ink or something onto a photo, I can just print up another copy of it, but I can't for this one, so. I'm going to outline all of those strips as well, and I'm using my Micron Sakura pen in a 0.05 point to do the outlining. Now that multicolored striped paper and this floral poinsettia paper are both from the Merry and Bright collection from Pink Paisley. And then this green paper, I'm going to call it a quatrefoil. I'm not sure it's exactly a quatrefoil, but it is from the Fancy Pants collection from the Oh Dear collection. And then this little tiny piece of cream colored text paper is also from Merry and Bright collection. And so I'm just going to glue down this main piece that holds my pictures and the pattern paper. I'm just going to zoom out in a minute so you can see how that lines up on the red. And just give me a second here. There we go. And I'm going to layer these strips right along the right-hand side of my photos. And I'm just lining them up so that both the top and the bottom edges of each of these strips is is staggered, and I'm gonna make this one a little bit thinner because it was whoa, I don't know if you guys heard that. Something big crashed upstairs. um, I think everybody is okay. Yes, so I just had to make that one a little bit shorter or thinner, I guess, because it was covering up too much of the floral print, and I really love that beautiful floral. So you'll notice that the striped paper, the colorful stripe, it runs from the gray at the top to the gray at the bottom, and it's the only one that does that. So I'm sort of arranging the other ones around it. I want it on the inside closest to the photos, and I want it to extend from gray to gray. And so I just placed the poinsettia print, the poinsettia paper right beside it, and then I'm placing the quatrefoil right on top of that poinsettia paper, and then this little piece here will just span in between those two. And you'll see how all of the edges of the papers, all of the tops and bottoms, are just staggered so that they all end in different places. And then I just took it off camera to do my sewing, and I just used silver thread to go right down the center of each of the strips. And now I'm just using my washi tape to just secure the ends, because I don't do back stitching most of the time when I sew on my layouts. And so that just keeps the stitching in place. That's what it looks like. And now I'm just going to place these die cut snowflakes from the Merry and Bright collection that came in the kit. Just going to place them all back, and playing around a little bit with the placement, but I pretty much know that I want it all to go kind of like this. So I decided to use all three of those burlap flowers because they fit together so nicely. They're kind of a hexagon shape, and they fit together so nicely that I thought I just wanted to use them all. If you're going to use one, I might as well use them all. No point in saving them. So I scattered a couple of other snowflakes from the Merry and Bright collection. They coordinate with the ones under the flowers, and I scattered them over here in this space of red paper that I left over here. I was planning to put the title, and while I was scrapbooking, I was trying to come up with an interesting or funny title, but I don't really have a story to go with this one. It's literally just, here's a picture of the Browns, because they live in Alberta, and I wasn't there the day that the picture was taken. It's just a picture that they sent to us. So anyhow, I'm calling it the Browns for lack of a more exciting or interesting title, but that's okay. It's descriptive anyways. And then I took the date, the 2014 year, and I'm going to nestle it in amongst my other embellishments over to the right, so that the title will be over here to the left. The only embellishment that will go with the title is this little scattering of snowflakes. And I felt like I had to put something over there just because it would have been quite unbalanced if I didn't. And so that's what I did. Over here, I'm starting by putting 2014 down, and nothing else over here is glued down yet, but that will become kind of my anchoring point. I will arrange everything else around 2014. So I need to put this Christmas cheer embellishment from the Merry and Bright collection. I need to put that over to the right of it. And now I'm just going to glue these down. I'm going to try to not move them too much because I want to put, these are the snowflakes from the Merry and Bright collection. I want to put the flowers down exactly where they were, and I want the snowflakes to stick out exactly where they were. So I'm just putting a little bit of glue in a couple of different places, and I'm focusing on these two snowflakes. I'll go back and do the top one in a few minutes. And now I probably would have liked to have used hot glue on these, but I never have patience for hot glue because it's once you get it heated up and you're using it, it's very quick and easy. But I hate finding it and plugging it in and waiting for it to heat up. So by the time I do all that stuff, I'd rather just use wet glue. So that's what I'm using here is some Tombow Mono Multi adhesive. And it's a little annoying because it's quite, like, it really is not tacky for a while. And so yeah, the flowers are flopping around a little bit more than I would have liked. But I guess on the other hand, that makes them a little bit more easy to manipulate if you change your mind about where you want them to be, which I did. I wanted them squished up together a little bit more than they originally were. So because I was using wet glue, I was able to just kind of squish them together, and they hadn't set up yet. So now I'm just using more of that same glue to run along the back side of the word Mary. It looks like it says Mary 2014, and that's kind of cute. I like that. And that gray, actually the gray flare badge with the points, with the white poinsettias in it, is the exact reason, it's really the only reason I decided to keep that gray paper as the background. As soon as I realized that that gray flare badge would look nice nestled amongst the green flowers, then I thought, and then that will draw in the gray background, and that's when I decided to stick with the gray cardstock for the background. So I'm not entirely sure what I'm doing now, but I'm pretty close to being done. I guess I'm trying to decide if I'm going to put that last snowflake up on the left or not. So sorry I forgot to zoom out, but I'll zoom out, I think, fairly shortly. I'm going to, there we go. So I'm going to start by gluing the snowflakes in place, just because they're underneath the title, so I have to do them before I can put the title down. And I just want to have them vary as in terms of where they line up along this red stripe. And now here at the last minute, I'm going to decide, no, I don't want that there. And I'm really glad I decided against it. It would be too much. I like just this little assortment. And as I mentioned a few minutes ago, or at least I think I started to say, I felt like I needed to put something over here besides just the title, because the other embellishment cluster just has so much bulk to it with those big burlap flowers that it needed something over here to provide some balance to that. I mean, I think even it is a little unbalanced, like I could have put more strips of paper, more layering, or I could have done even more over here and it would be even more balanced. But I kind of like the off balance nature of this page because, you know, those canvas flowers or burlap flowers are really impossible to balance unless if you spread them all over your page. So I almost kind of like this idea of this off-centered, off-kiltered, it's definitely much heavier over here layout, but I did feel like it needed some snowflakes over on the other side. So here's the close-up of how this looks. There will be some photos at the end as well. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I hope you all are having as great a holiday as I am. I'm really loving this chance to do some scrapbooking over the holidays. So take care and have a really great scrappy week.